Hello, everyone. It is Rob the Replicator here again with part 3 of how to crowdfund your comics. We are on the campaign page now. So on the previous two, we've done the pre-launch stuff and just like an introduction about how it works and what to expect, that kind of thing. So if you haven't checked out those videos, go back and do so. Campaign. All right. So 30 plus 30 is the way to go. Let me just blow this up a little bit. 1 second, guys. All right, that's a bit better. Okay, yeah. So you want to run the campaign for 30 days, especially if it's your first one, and then extend it for another 30 days. Why? Because what happens is you'll get a boost towards the end of it. It'll give you like a campaign is closing boost, and you may not sure exactly how it works, but it may boost you up on the trending, but you will get a bump from it. And then you'll get a little bit of a bump from the start of it, and then you get another bump at the end of it. So if you just did 60, right, it would just be like the bump, and then it would drop off, and then it would come back up at the end. But with your 30, you bump at the start, drop off, bump at the end of the 30, and then a little bit at the start, and then it will drop off, and then it'll bump again at the end of the 30. So it's just the best way to maximize the amount of backers you get. It really is. You will lose money if you just do 60 days as opposed to this. You don't have to do 30 and 30. You could do 30 and 7 or whatever you want, 30 and 15. I think Graham Nolan believes 30 and 15 is the way to go. And then in demand. So if you're a new creator, like it's your first campaign or not even your first campaign, unless you're a really big player, I would always recommend going in demand. There is just too much money left on the table if you don't do so. I could bring up I can bring up Mike's because Mike's a good example because we're just looking at his campaign on the previous video. He had 490 backers. He's added 500 in demand. Okay, so if he closed that there, he may have gotten more backers here because if there is no in demand, people make sure they back it. He's not going to get 500 more though, so it's a huge thing to do. Make sure you do that. These are all best practices, guys. They're not all you have to do this or you'll fail. These are just things I think are the optimum thing to do. They may not be the optimum thing to do, but they're pretty good. Pretty good. They're not that bad. All right. So at a minimum, I would take off the day before launch, the launch day, and closing day off from work, so you can devote yourself 100% to these crucial days. The day before launch, you want to make sure the campaign is completely finished, good to go. Everything is, all your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, all that kind of stuff. You've got all the streams you're planning to do the next day all set up. And you're just ready. You're ready. Like it's very stressful, I find, right? Doing a campaign, like will people come and back? Won't they? Having everything set up before is great. If you can't take this off, just choose these two. Honestly, the launch day and closing day. Launch day, you want to be hustling. You want to get on as many shows as possible that you can. Launch day is the number one day where you're going to make backers and sales. So what we did was both Clayton and I, we launched on how to draw comics for each other. So with Kozor, Corey, Clayton, and I launched on how to draw comics. Clayton then went around to every single channel that he could get on during that day. They had, I think it was 144 backers on day one, which was an amazing effort for a first campaign. New creators, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. With Rep 3, we did the same thing, except I went around different channels, and I think we had 214, and this was my third campaign, or my third book. So it definitely does work. It takes a lot of effort. I basically, yeah, here we go. 149 and 204. So the numbers were a little off, but the idea is there. Um, you don't have to do it this way. I just think again, it's the optimal way to do it. Lots of people just launch on Bancrofts, which I think is actually really good. I've said before, I don't think it's the optimal way to go. Uh, but if you're new, maybe it is, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not trying to talk down to those people. It's a fantastic place to start things. Um, Streaming. Let's see what I've said here. I decided to add this section as I watch a lot of people try and pitch the books without maximizing their opportunity, myself included, honestly. I'm not saying I'm great at it, but let me point out a few key things you need to do. I'm going to list them in order of importance. You need to know the key selling features of your book. So going back to Eric Canetti's book for a second, obviously the art is one of the key features, but it's 64 pages. It's hardcover. It's not going in demand. It ships in 4 months, right? That's pretty good, right? I got all that from memory just from the amount of times that he's told me and seen it again just a minute ago. So find out what your key selling points are, right? My books are 32 pages. They're cheaper than other people's books because they're smaller. They have great covers. That could be a selling point. The artwork's fantastic. I just, had some really great artists on it. Just figure out what your key selling points are, and then you can just repeat those points over and over again. Passion, energy. This is one that I struggle with. Even when I am passionate and energized, I sound really flat. But Noah, he's a great example. NTM Comics. He's like 16 now. He's really passionate and he's really hustling to sell. I don't think I could do it that way because I think it would come across as insincere. But I really like watching him. I really like watching him sell. I mean, Ethan's obviously a master at it. Mike's fantastic at it, even though he doesn't tell you anything about his book. He's likable, so it makes up for it. But if you can't get excited about your book, it's going to be really hard for other people to get excited about it. Like we watch a lot of pitches, and man, some of them are like pulling teeth. Like it is hard. It is hard to listen through. It's impossible for me to buy a book after I hear it. And I'm sure you guys have heard pitches like this so many times. And a short pitch is much better than a long-winded pitch, right? So think of Starlight Cats, for example. Little girl, big adventure, cats in space. We heard that over and over and over again for months and months and months. I would rather hear that than a story that goes into great detail because my brain's going to switch off. You're going to lose me. So I'd rather hear a 10-second pitch than a 5-minute detailed pitch. When you get good at it, if you can do a 10-second pitch and then elaborate into like a 30-second or a minute pitch, that's great. That's great. But if you start going straight into like a 5-minute pitch, it's going to be rough for you. Preparation. So this is something that I think hosts appreciate. So if you're going on Mailins, for example, right, and Mailin has a big channel, he does Comicscape Presents. Have your images, your links, your videos, everything that you want him to play ready to go, right? So he shouldn't have to look around for it. You should have everything ready to go for him. Prepare your pitch and practice it. What's going on? Oh, I spelled wrong. Reading a pitch off a document is better than a pitch that's all over the place. Of course, knowing your pitch by heart is better than reading it off a document. Pretty straightforward, right, guys? If you can't get your pitch down, come back to that. All right. Okay, so yeah. And then finally, camera. People will relate to you better if you have a camera. If they can relate to you, you're more likely to sell books. there is another point I want to add to this that I haven't written on here. I just thought of it the other day. It's also the people that are on the stream with you, right? So if I'm on with Malin, for example, and Malin's probably not a good example because he knows me now. But say I didn't know Malin, right, and I was just an avatar. It's really hard to talk to someone, I find, behind an avatar unless you know them. Like you can't read their facial expressions. You can't tell if you make a joke, if they find it funny, if they're behind an avatar. So, I mean, obviously there are reasons people do it, and for some people it doesn't matter. You look at RGE, that Umbrella guy, they're behind avatars, but they've built their channels that way. So it's a lot different comparing those people to someone like me, for example, who's just come up and is behind an avatar. So that is something I'd really consider when you're trying to sell your book. Though it makes a big difference. Really great examples of passion and energy. Check out Rini, Fiendish. She's just full of passion and energy, man. If I could steal that, I would steal that in a heartbeat. We'll come back next time and look at the campaign video, campaign page. If you can, please hit like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.